Delta 6 were surrounded. The call cracked through the chaos before the line drowned in static. Then the jungle erupted tracer fire. Mortar bursts. Men shouting through smoke and fear. Mekong Delta, 1969. The night was burning. Lieutenant Jack Mercer slammed a fresh mag into his M16A1, breath ragged, hands slick with mud and blood. Every tree seemed to bleed fire. The air reeked of diesel and gunpowder thick enough to taste. "Check your sectors," he yelled. Sergeant Harlow pivoted the M60, sweeping arcs of orange into the tree line. Somewhere to their left, Corporal Ruiz was working on a wounded Marine, whispering a prayer that couldn't be heard over the roar. "Where's the gunship?" Mercer barked into the handset. "Spooky's inbound, 2 minutes out," came the reply. 2 minutes in this place. That was forever. A mortar landed close. Mercer hit the ground as shrapnel tore through the rain-soaked palms. Static screamed in his ear and then silence. The radio was dead. For a moment, only the jungle breathed. Men crawled through smoke, eyes wide, waiting for orders that wouldn't come. Harlow ripped the backup PRC-25 from the dead RTO's pack, wiring it through the mud. "Sir, maybe we can reach the bird." Mercer nodded. "Do it. We're not dying in a blind spot." 12 hours earlier, the river had been calm. They'd escorted CH-47 Chinooks upriver under a lazy sun. Music played on a battered transistor credence over the hum of engines. Jack had been writing a letter home, promising his sister he'd be back by Christmas. He didn't believe it. But lies were easier in daylight. Then the order came: Delta 6 divert east. Intel reports movement near Grid 17. Routine, standard, until the jungle started watching them back. Now, in the burning dark, Mercer heard the low drone of rotors cutting through smoke. He exhaled once. "They see us," he whispered, and that's when the first light flared red. Unnatural, hovering above their position. Every war leaves a story untold. "Where are you watching from?" "Soldier. The next mission begins. Soon stay with us." The jungle swallowed sound. Even the gunfire felt muted, as if the trees themselves wanted it over. Lieutenant Jack Mercer pushed forward through the haze, the barrel of his M16A1 hot enough to shimmer. 9 men left. That's all. "Check your sectors," he whispered. Sergeant Harlow pivoted the M60, its belt clinking through trembling hands. "I can't see squat." "Sir, they're moving out there. Fast." A ripple of muzzle flashes stitched across the dark. Mercer dropped behind a fallen trunk, mud splashing his face. Shapes flickered bare feet. AKs, whispers in Vietnamese. The Viet Cong weren't chasing, they were herding. Then came the voice, crackling through static, thin but clear. "Delta 6, this is Raven 2-1. Flare inbound. Hold position." Mercer froze. Raven 2-1 was dead KIA north of Pleiku last month. He keyed the PRC-25 again. "Say again." "Raven 2-1. Nothing, only rain tapping on the handset." A flare burst overhead, bleaching the world white. 10, maybe 12 silhouettes, rifles raised. "Contact front." The M60 thundered. The platoon answered with bursts, brass falling like sparks in mud. Ruiz screamed, "We're pinned! They're circling left." Mercer turned to answer and stopped. Behind Ruiz, a faint red glow pulsed through the smoke. A beacon. His blood ran cold. Who popped that smoke? No one answered. The beacon blinked again, too steady to be a mistake. It wasn't a flare. It was a remote signal marker, the kind used by gunships to mark targets. Above, the distant drone of an AC-47 Spooky grew louder, its miniguns whining into a spin. Mercer's voice cut through the static. "Spooky. Abort strike, friendly abort." A blinding cone of light carved through the clouds. Tracer fire screamed down like molten rain. In that frozen instant, Mercer saw him a man in U.S. fatigues, standing calm in the tree line, holding the remote beacon trigger that wasn't supposed to exist. Then the world went white. The world detonated. Light, dust, and thunder ripped through the jungle as the AC-47 Spooky unleashed hell on their coordinates. Mercer hit the ground, mouth full of mud, lungs burning. The air was fire and steel. He couldn't hear, just a ringing, high and sharp, like the jungle itself was screaming. Bodies, smoke, charred earth. He rolled over, coughing, and saw Sergeant Harlow dragging Ruiz behind a burned-out palm. Sir Harlow's voice cracked. "They hit us. Our own bird hit us." Mercer blinked through the haze. "Someone marked us. I saw him. The shape in U.S. fatigues had vanished. Only footprints remained standard-issue jungle boots, headed away from the kill zone." He pushed himself up, clutching his rifle. "We find him. Now." They moved through the wreckage like ghosts. Everything stank of cordite and betrayal. Ruiz was barely conscious, whispering. "Why'd they light us up?" "Sir, we were the good guys." Mercer didn't answer. The question hurt too much. A flicker of movement up ahead, a reflection. Faint but deliberate. He signaled with 2 fingers. Harlow nodded. Flanking left, his M60 at the ready. When they rounded the stump, Mercer froze. A man knelt by a downed radio pack, headset still warm. An American, Staff Sergeant Lorne Danner, their own recon liaison, the man who'd given them the diversion order. Mercer stepped out of cover. "Rifle raised. On your knees. Sergeant." Danner turned slowly, eyes hollow. "You weren't supposed to be here." "Sir." "Then where the hell were we supposed to be?" Danner didn't answer. He just held up a red smoke canister, still fizzing weakly. "They told me to mark the area. Said it was a supply dump full of NVA. I didn't know the lie didn't land." Mercer saw the blood on Danner's sleeves. The maps tucked into his vest marked with CIA grid stamps. "You sold us out," Mercer said quietly. Danner's lip trembled. "You don't understand. We were cleaning up something that never happened. Orders from Saigon Command. No witnesses." Harlow's finger tightened on the trigger. "Say that again." Before Danner could speak, the radio on his shoulder crackled. A voice came through calm. "American, official, Raven 2-1 to all units. Operation Night Lance confirmed. Delta 6 team is no longer on the books." Mercer's blood ran cold. He looked up at the sky, where the gunship circled back for another pass. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "They're not done." And then the jungle lit up again. The jungle was ash and whispers. The AC-47's roar had faded, but its echo still hung in the trees like a curse. Lieutenant Jack Mercer came to with his face in the dirt. His helmet was gone. His ears rang like broken glass. The air smelled of cordite, wet earth, and something metallic blood. He dragged himself upright. Harlow's M60 lay twisted beside a crater. Ruiz's helmet floated in a pool of mud, still steaming. Only 3 men were moving now: Mercer, Harlow, and a private whose name Mercer couldn't even remember. The world had gone quiet enough to hear his own heartbeat. "Report," Mercer rasped. "Ruiz is gone," Harlow said. "Danner too, or what's left of him." Mercer's stomach turned. He remembered Danner's face, haunted, guilty, half burned by his own betrayal. The red smoke canister still hissed beside his body, bleeding color into the mist. Then, under the soot and blood, Mercer saw something else. A patch melted into Danner's sleeve. Task Force Night Lance, an insignia no one in country was supposed to wear. He tore the patch off and stuffed it into his pocket. "We're not done." They found shelter in the wreck of an old CH-21 Shawnee, half swallowed by vines. The rain started soon after. Beating against the rusted hull like gunfire slowed down. Harlow sat by the open door, watching the smoke drift between trees. "Sir, what if Command knew Mercer didn't look at him? They didn't just know," he said quietly. "They planned it." He pulled the ruined radio from his pack, twisting wires until static gave way to a faint voice. "Night Lance Control. Copy Operation Containment successful. Remaining assets unconfirmed. Proceed to Phase 2. Harlow's eyes met his. "We're the assets." Mercer nodded once. And Phase 2 is cleaning up what's left. The private swore under his breath, gripping his rifle tighter. Then what do we do? Mercer looked out through the rain, toward the distant hum of engines in the east. He could see faint lights moving beyond the ridgeline, too disciplined for locals. We find whoever's running Nightlands, he said. And we end it. The radio crackled again, same channel, same calm American voice. Delta 6. If you're still alive, stand down. Extraction inbound. Mercer froze. It was his own voice. The rain came harder. Thunder rolled low across the valley, masking the hum of engines closing in. Lieutenant Jack Mercer gripped the radio, staring at the speaker as his own voice echoed back through the static Delta 6. If you're still alive, stand down. Extraction inbound. It wasn't a recording. It was live. Harlow's whisper cut through the downpour. Sir, that's you. Mercer adjusted the dial, jaw clenched. No, that's someone using my call sign. Then the headlights appeared through the trees, 2 M151 Jeeps. Canvas flapping, silhouettes in rain ponchos, American uniforms, friendly faces. But their rifles were already raised. Delta 6, a man shouted through a loudhailer. Orders from Saigon, drop your weapons and step forward. Mercer's pulse thudded in his throat. He'd seen this before, cleanup teams sent to erase mistakes. He looked at Harlow. You still got that M60 running? Harlow nodded, barely. Then we make them work for it. The firefight was fast, close, desperate. Tracer rounds carved the night open. The first Jeep exploded, flipping sideways. Harlow went down firing, shouting through the smoke until his voice vanished under thunder. When it was over, only Mercer stood mud-soaked, rifle empty, radio crushed beneath his boot. The second Jeep idled, riddled with holes. Inside, the driver gurgled his last breath. His name tag read Danner. Same face, same eyes, but younger. Mercer stepped back, breath trembling. What the hell? The man's dying whisper crawled out. Project Nightlands. Time loop ops. Classified. The words faded. The engine sputtered. Died. Mercer looked down at the insignia on the dead man's sleeve. Task Force Nightlands. Identical to the patch he'd found hours ago. But this one was pristine. New. He stared into the rain. The jungle flickering with lightning. Maybe they hadn't just been cleaning up a mission. Maybe they'd been trapped inside one. He slung his rifle, walked toward the ridge, and spoke softly to no one. Raven 2-1. This is Delta 6. Mission complete. But if anyone's still listening. He paused. The static answered. Tell them the ghosts made it home. Because sometimes, the only ones who truly come back are the ones who never left the fight. War never truly ends, it just keeps living inside those who made it home. A reminder that the cost of war isn't only paid on the battlefield, but in the minds of those who survived. Thank you for watching.